I'm going to pass over to you because part of celebrating neurodiversity is about raising awareness about our community, and research plays an incredible important part in that. So I'd like to invite Dan Harris from University in Business up to do a short introduction before we talk about the latest research that they have commissioned. Welcome, Dan Harris.
Before I speak, actually, I think we should just turn the round of applause to Jackie and the Genius Within team. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's been a fantastic community event. But we realise in the community that the way we're going to change government and society is through deep academic research. And this is why me and Neurodiversity in Business have been really proud to partner with these two amazing professors who are going to run through some of our latest academic research. We're launching it on Monday, and we're really excited about that, but we're giving you a sneak preview. So please welcome the two professors on.
I can wiggle now, I can move, woohoo! So we're so pleased to have been partnering with Neurodiversity in Business. Before I say anything about the research itself, really a big call out to all the volunteers in NIB. It was jolly hard to get the data this year. There's something going on already where inclusion is dropping off the radar. This is why today is so important. We mustn't ever forget that inclusion should be at the heart of what we do in business and at work. But in order to change organizational practice, we need good, sound data. And that's what we've got this year. We got data again from over 1,600 people. We asked neurodivergent employees, we asked their colleagues, and we also asked employer representatives. So we are just going to give you a very, very high-level, sneaky preview, and then you can read the full report in your goodie bag. So could we have the next slide up now? Perfect. So what we found, no shit Sherlock, co-occurrence is the norm. So 2/3 of the neurodivergent people who responded said that they identified with more than one condition. Last year, we asked all neurodivergent employees about their well-being. We used a very common measure. Well-being was very low, but we didn't really know, is that because neurodivergent people, well-being is lower than everybody else's, or how would other people feel? Well, no one is really well, right? We need to put well-being back on the agenda, and the well-being of neurodivergent people is lower still. Makes sense because of the overlap with mental health conditions, with physical health conditions. So this is where our efforts need to go. We also found very different perspectives on the strengths and challenges that neurodivergent people bring to work, where they rated themselves higher or lower on some, and employers and employees had different perspectives. That's what we call in research the double empathy problem. Without judgment, what that simply tells us that we have different views on the world and we see each other differently, we communicate in different ways, and there's a lot of work to be done in terms of good and inclusive relationship building. There were also different perceptions of organizational support for neurodiversity, psychological safety, which is this feeling that you can be you, as we can hear in this room, right? I can be me, I can wiggle, I can fidget as I usually do, can't ever stand still for more than 1 minute. And it's a good thing to do. None of you will judge me for that, but it's different out there in the corporate world. So very different perceptions where employees thought, we're doing the right thing. And the neurodivergent employees thought, it's not working for me yet. So something needs to happen. And I'm going to hand over to Nancy now, who will explain to you what it all means and what the implications are.
Thank you. So next slide, please. Okay, so our call to action from our research this year, and you do have advance copies because that digital swag bag means you get the report before Monday, which no one else has. So, we feel very treasured. We need to put neurodiversity sensitive wellbeing strategy at the heart of corporate practice. By neurodiversity sensitive, what I mean is, a lot of the reason that neurodivergent people are not well at work and are stressed is because of cognitive difficulties, difficulty focusing, difficulty concentrating, difficulty with literacy. Those things are not small. And if you go to a typical well-being thing, you'll do grounding exercises, you'll do mindfulness, that's all very well, but it's not going to take away your cognitive deficit. So we need to really encourage people to think about practically how to support neurodivergent people in order to support well-being. And what we mean by primary and secondary approaches. So secondary approaches are when you kind of generally encourage well-being. A primary approach is when you work on the conditions that cause lack of well-being in the first place. So well-resourced jobs, an inclusion climate, flexible working policies. These are primary preventative well-being measures, and we don't see enough of these. We see token gestures and, things like well-being apples of the day, but mind apples and things like that. Actually what we need to do is just have good, healthy workplaces, and that's a huge priority. We need an increased focus on building mutual understanding, clarifying expectations, and conflict prevention and resolution. A lot of the research and practice around neurodiversity at work has been on adjustments and very practical changes, which aren't implemented enough still. But one of the things that we're not talking about is when we have these differences of opinions about what are neurodivergent strengths and what are neurodivergent challenges, how are we actually going to resolve that? Because at the moment, it's a case of walking on eggshells. It's a case of feeling like you're being judged, but not quite knowing how to vocalize that. And we need to create open, transparent spaces where people can explore their different opinions of the world. And we also need to review and optimise the infrastructure for equality, diversity and inclusion provision and ensure a transparent approach. And by me and Alma have been wondering what that means exactly. And part of it is this thing that we call universal design, where we plan workspaces for a wider range of people. And that would include things like thinking about the sensory environment in workplaces, looking at open plan offices and reducing noise barriers. And that's the kind of thing that, again, it's a preventative measure. It's a preventative measure. We need to look more at prevention rather than cure. So do feel free to join our mailing list. If you go onto our website, we've got accessible copies of all our research. They're not behind a publishing paywall. We also, when we have the time and energy, write lay summaries and accessible infographics. We don't always have the time and energy. We're sorry. There's a backlog, but it's just us. So do feel free to go on and have a look at the range of data and statistics that we've collected that will help you in your own advocacy across the various organisations that you're part of.